Hello, Facebook. We are going to be doing all kinds of little fun things today. Hello, Instagram. We are going to do all kinds of little fun things today. I've changed a few things today. I'm not going to do it always the same as I have been. Hello, Ruby and Lucy and Grant. And hello, the Wood family and Aunt Carla. Today, we are going to do a few little things different. We are going to experiment for a little bit. So I'm going to start here. You do not have to have this, but if you want to test something, if you have some of these Crayola markers, yes, get them out. We're going to play with them, okay? So that's one thing. You do not have to have these. This is just a extra that I think you all are going to like to play with later. I also have a Sharpie pen today instead of my pen. Oh, well, somewhere there was a pen. Okay, there you go. So, just wanted to test. I want to do an experiment with those two things with you today, too. You don't have to do that. You can just watch along with that if you want. And, of course, I have my watercolors. And I see that on Facebook you can hear me. If you are on Instagram, show me that you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up or say, I hear you. There you go. There's a few people that are on it. Hello, Frank Wellborn. All right, so you're going to need some watercolors. You are going to need to, thank you, Lindsay Mindler. You're going to need a paintbrush, maybe a pencil. I don't know. We'll see. You need a paper towel. You need some water. And you need to figure out. So I am going to repeat this. So if you want to play along with me today, you don't have to, but I have a neat little experiment I want to do with these markers. So if you have some Crayola markers, get them out. We're going to play with them. You need the markers to do that, but we will also be doing watercolor too, so it's whatever floats your boat, but it's a neat little experiment. I said I was going to do a parrot and a pirate, and I've decided that I need a day off. So tomorrow, there is not going to be a class. I'll be back on Monday, FYI. I just needed a break. I've taught 8 classes this week. So let's talk about what you need to actually paint on. I personally like... What happened? No. My Instagram just decided to kick me off. Not sure why. Let's try that again. Instagram, that's not good. Be nice to me. Hello, Miss Holly. So, I'm going to continue talking. Hopefully, my Instagram people will follow. You can always hit me up there on Facebook if you can't see me on Instagram. So, for what we're going to paint on is our watercolor paper. You need to see 140-pound paper. Instagram, I'm sorry it cut you off. Not sure why, but I'm glad you're back. You're going to need watercolor paper, and we're going to need some Crayola markers for just a experiment. You don't have to. You need some watercolors. Okay, to save my actual paper and supplies, what I do is I actually cut this paper into half, so I don't waste it. So that's what this is. Okay. And then for my exercises, because we always do an exercise, I then cut this piece of paper in half and I get these two little pieces of paper. And so that's what I actually do most of my exercises on. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way. I'm going to put that back. And I am so glad, Carrie, that this is your 4th class. That's fantastic. Hi, Instagram. I'm so glad you're back. I don't know what happened. We got cut off. That's the glory of free Facebook and free Instagram. Okay, so today we are actually going to do something like this. This was actually done with markers. All right? And I want to just, so there's one thing. 2, I want you to, I'm going to zoom in, see here if you can see this. This is watercolor. On top of it is a Sharpie. Okay? It's a Sharpie on top of it. And it's just doodles. So, what we're going to do, it's a little bit of every. Yes, this camera isn't centered. It's just, I've got 2 cameras at the same time, Holly. Sorry, it can't be perfect. I don't have a whole working studio here. Okay, so we're first going to do some exercises. So in order to get to this, I'm going to actually use 2 pieces of paper today so I can show you both things, all right? So the first thing that we're going to do on your watercolors, for the people who have watercolors, okay, you can follow along with watercolors or you can follow along with markers, okay? So if you have your watercolors, we first need to activate them, right? And how do we activate them? Well, you could use a spray bottle and spray it. Let's see if I can't do that. Now you both see them. All right. I could use a spray bottle and spray it, or I can sit here. Instagram is causing me major problems. Not good. Not good at all. I hope Instagram people show up on Facebook. I'm giving up on Instagram now. This is the first time this has happened. That's highly unusual. Maybe Instagram has just had enough of me. So, here we go. I am going to go ahead and spray this down. If you don't have a spray thing, all you need is some water. And you need to activate it. And in order to activate it, what we do is we put it on the paint and then we wipe it off because we don't want to mix colors. Because mixing colors of watercolor is like bad. So then I put it into the brown and I wipe it off, put it back into the water, and I do this over and over and over again. Instagram, I'm not really sure what's going on, but it keeps knocking me off like in 4 minutes. It's really strange. So if you want to make sure that you can see, you could come over to Facebook at Megan Bailey Gill Art and watch me, or just hang in there. We'll see what happens. So do y'all see how I was activating that? I was going into the water and going into the thing. So now, I told you I said we'd do exercises, but right now we're going to get ready for our big project. So, and I'm doing it on 2 things. So, I've got some water, and I'm going to go in, and I'm going to take some blue. And I'm going to just come in here. Well, wait a minute. I'm going to do it all in one. Disregard that one. And I am painting some paint. Okay? I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do some green. And I'm going to get it really close to it. And remember, we actually, earlier in the week, we talked about tornadoes. And we talked about how we could do tornadoes. And when they get in together, they mix. And that's what I'm getting in here. I'm getting a nice little mixture. Now, because I'm going to work on flowers, I'm going to do some pink. I'm going to come down here, put some pink in. Look, I've got into that blue, and you see how it's actually, there you go. Can y'all see that better now? Yeah, there you go. Okay. Every time I change colors, I'm putting my paintbrush in the paper towel first, and then on the water. I'm going to get some orange. That's pretty orange. Now, I'm going to get right up next to this pink here and see what I can get. What color do you think I make? Okay, I'm going to get some yellow, I think, and I'm going to come over here where this is and see what that looks like. I like that. I think I'm going to go with red right there. What happens when you put red and blue together? Anybody know? It's actually supposed to make purple, but we have some orange in there. We actually have some orange in there, and so it's not actually doing what I want it to do, but it's close enough. Okay, so that's one thing that we're doing. So I have done my first version of this, and I have it all up, and that is the first one. Now, if you are still doing watercolor, keep doing that. I'm just going to move this to the top of the screen here, and I'm going to get this one out. And this time, I'm going to move out my watercolors, and I'm going to get some markers. So I'm going to stay with, I'm going to take out my orange, my yellow, my red, my pink. Hey, you want, yeah, let's do a blue. Okay, so we're going to scribble, people, but I want to do this very smart. Smart meaning I am going to start with yellow first. We're going to start with the lightest first. And I'm just putting it down. You see, I'm not even really worried about the shape of it or anything. Now I'm going to take my orange. And I'm going to put my orange right next to it. Does anybody know where I'm going with this? This is fun. I'm going to take some pink, and I'm going to scribble it over here. I'm going to take some red. I think I'm going to put the red right here in the middle. I'm not going to do as much red. It seems to be like really, really, really bright. I'm going to take some blue. Okay. Make sure when you're using your markers, one of the two things about markers. Markers are best if they are, like they last the longest if they lay down. A lot of people like to put their markers, me included, up and down like this, and they dry out faster this way. So don't do that. So here we go. And the second thing is you need to make sure that you listen to the pop. Did you hear that? That's very, very important for markers. You can waste a lot of money with that. So I've got my paintbrush with some water on it. And I'm going to come in here. I'm going to start with my light. And do you see what I see? It's making watercolor. I'm even going to get in here, go to my orange. Oh, isn't that pretty? And I'm making my own little tornadoes. Did you see that? I'm blending it. Oh, that's yummy color, man. That's so yummy. Yeah, yummy, 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 yummy. All right, I'm going to turn that. I'm going to take in some red here. Now, red and yellow should make a pretty orange, but I bet it's different than Crayola orange. You see that? It's a little bit different. Every time I go from a different color, I'm changing my brush. I'm actually wiping it down and I'm putting it into the actual water. All right. So, what we're going to do here is I'm continuing. I'm having to restart Instagram every single time. This never happens. I don't know why. Ooh, now that pink's not doing it so good. Do you see that? But if I keep adding water to it, it's working. It's working. But I am going to put in here. All right. I'm going to rotate it around just a little bit here, and I'm going to do this blue part. And we're going to get right in there. Ooh, that's a pretty purple. You see that? It's happening. Do you see what blue and this red-orange gets? It kind of gets a yucky color. So I'm going to try to stay away from that. I just want that blue right there. Okay, that's pretty though. That's pretty purple. Okay, that is what I'm doing for these two. This is first things, okay? Like this was to make sure that we can do the rest of the class. So I'm going to move this over to the side. And do you see how right now I've got this pile of water here? I'm going to be real careful, but I'm actually going to tilt it. And do you see it moving? I'm going to do it really careful. And when I get to a place where I don't want it to do it anymore, I'm going to stop it. I'm going to bring it back. And that's when I'm going to move it over to the side. Now, let's see. Is this dry yet? Not yet for me. It might be for you, but you see that? That means it's not dry for me. So that means we are going to work on our exercises of the day. That is actually getting ready for our doodles. All right, so I need to make myself another little practice sheet. So I'm taking it and I'm cutting it in half. You all may already have it. Okay, practice for the day is, we've already talked about how we blend colors, but now I'm taking, there you go. All right. Now what I think we're going to do is we are going to actually work on getting little baby lines. So remember yesterday we worked on big lines and trying not to get them connected to each other. So this time I'm going to take pink this time. We didn't do pink yesterday. And this time I'm going to draw triangles. So we're doing larger shapes, but still close together. And we don't want it to touch. And I'm going to zoom in for you. You all see that right there? Do you all see how close I got right there on that one? That's what we're going for. We want it to be as close without it bleeding and without the water touching each other. So I'm going to do this all the way across. I think I'm going to come over here. And I'm going to continue I'm going to do red next, I think. So I'm going to take red and I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to do the opposite You see that? I'm doing the opposite of what I did. Now, every time you go back for water, you might have a problem because you might have too much water on your brush. Oh, it's hard to think this way, man. Backwards and forwards with this triangle. I'm getting a little sloppy. Does everyone see that? Sloppy in the sense that I'm getting really far away. That's got a real far away thing, and I want to make that closer. Now, what we're learning when we do this, I'm taking my brush and I'm washing it off. I'm going to go back to this purple pink color just because I like it. Okay, so here, every time I go back and I get more water, I have more a potential, like where I'm actually going to bleed and that kind of stuff. But do you see how I don't go back for water every time? And the reason is because the less water you have on your brush, the more paint you have on the brush. But it also, it's a little easier to control. But one of the biggest problems is watercolor is really big on layers. So when you keep doing, and we're going to work on some layers up there. So I'm going to go back to red. And I'm going to fill this whole piece of paper up this way. It's hard to think in patterns and talk at the same time. Ooh, I touched. Anybody else have touching issues? You know, we are into physically, social distancing. We're physically distancing. That's what we're doing with these. We're building physical distancing triangles. Yeah, I know, I'm crazy. All right. I'm continuing. And this is just what our exercise is today. One of the reasons I do exercises, I know sometimes they're boring, but one of the things that it does is it helps you learn how to control the brush, and it gives you practice on how much water, how much paint do I have on my brush all the time. And that's really important because that's a real big lesson in, I think it's pretty. Okay, I'm going to go back to my red. I'm getting a little carried away here, a little bigger down here, aren't I? I think I'm going to come down here. Let's see if I can't start that way. Let's see. Now, this is harder. You want to know why? I'm going right to left, which is harder anyways, especially if you're right-handed, right? I have to make sure that I keep my hand out of it. But it is a big trick on your mind. You really have to think about it because it's opposite of what you're used to. So that's a good little brain exercise. We all need brain exercises, right? All right, I'm going to continue, and we're going to have one more down here. One more. I think, yeah, one more line, and then we're going to go back to our other ones, because we want those to be dry before we actually do it. You know, we could also test a few things. Anybody got any questions while we're finishing this part up? I know it's really hard to, paint and ask questions at the same time. Okay. Now, I like this. This is looking pretty good. You know, one of the things that I kind of want to do is where this part is dry, I'm going to come back and I just want to show one little thing. So I'm getting some purple on my brush. And I'm just going to add a line on one side of all of these. And you tell me if you think it looks better. I'm trying to make it look like they're 3D. Do they look 3D? Kind of, maybe. Now these down here are wet. Do you see they're bleeding? Oh, and it's pretty. But it's not the same effect for sure. Alright, I know. I'm going pretty fast, aren't I? I should slow down. I'm going to continue with the red. And I'm just doing one side. I'm doing always the side that I started with. Mainly because that would say where the light's coming from. And y'all see how far away I am from my paintbrush and how I'm holding my paintbrush? I'm holding my paintbrush really, really far out. Now, that takes practice, but it's also a great way to loosen up. Alright, I'm about ready to start painting some flowers. I love to paint flowers. I've painted flowers since I was little. I first learned about Georgia O'Keeffe. She would paint flowers. Anybody know some Georgia O'Keeffe? So that is my exercises for today. You know, it looks like candy, kind of. Alright, so I'm going to move this to the side. I'm going to come up here with this one. I'm going to check on this one to see if this is the Crayola one. It's pretty dry. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that blue is still a little wet. That's good. So test your work. See if it is dry or not. I'm going to move that out. This one is completely dry for me almost. If not, we're just going to fan it just a little bit like that. Okay, now we are going to talk about some flowers today. And you know what else? I also wanted to test something. So I've got this other card. I'm going to start. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. This is a Sharpie pen. So that means it's permanent. That means you can put water over it and it shouldn't bleed too much. Okay, so this is a test. You do not have to do this test with me. We're waiting for the stuff to actually dry. And that's why I'm doing these little science experiments. Okay, so one of the things, I learned this from Alyssa Burke. And her name is spelled A-L-I-S-A-K, Burke, B-U-R-K-E. And she does these beautiful doodles of these flowers. And I have loved watching her, and she's got some great YouTube tutorials and stuff like that. So if you all like to doodle, you might like to see what she does. So I'm testing something right now. I'm going to start by making a circle in the middle or in my thing on my piece of paper. Now I'm going to do little baby circles inside it. All right, not a big deal. And now I'm going to do petals. So this is the center of the actual circle, okay? I'll move that out of the way. There you go. And I'm going to start at the bottom. That's one stroke. And then I'm coming in and I'm going to hit the opposite of that. All right. I'm going to do that until I go all the way around my flower. Okay. I can rotate my paper and I can do it that way. And if it touches, I'm going to let it touch and then I'm going to pick it up over here. You see that? That's called negative space because this is called positive space. Positive meaning there's an object there. There's a petal. Negative space is something that's not there at all. Okay, I'm going to keep on going here. I'm also showing what's on top and what's on bottom, right? I'm showing layers. I'm going to come over here on this side and I'm going to do a real big one. It's going to go off the piece of paper. This is looking pretty already. I just love it. Okay, so I'm going to start here. And I think I'm going to do one more right here. Now, I know that I went fast. That's one of my flowers. So what we are going to do today is we're going to draw stuff like this on top of our watercolor. Okay, but I wanted to test this. So this is testing. I'm going to take 2 of these and I'm going to put some orange on it. Oh, yeah. That works. I like that. I like that a lot. So that means you could draw first and then put this on top of it. Guess what else you could do? I'm going to do this with the pink. I'm going to take my Crayola pen and I'm going to I'm not going to paint the whole thing. I'm just going to paint a little bit. How many of y'all probably have Crayolas at the house? Oh, isn't that cool? I like that. I like that a lot. Now, you may not like all of that right there, but guess what? If you went in and you added a little bit more water to it, you see how it's getting fuzzier and fuzzier? And you don't have to stay in the lines either. That's kind of what the purpose of this class was about today, was I don't want us to stay in the lines. I'm doing a background and then something on top of it. Okay? Now, that's exactly what I was looking for. We're going to now take that. Are we with me? Who knows? I know Instagram's having trouble. I'm sorry, people. I've got this on my Facebook story. If you want to watch it on that, it'll do it in pieces. I've just kept doing it over and over again. Okay, so what we learned here is that we could draw them first and then we could put watercolor on top of it, and that's really fun. We could do it with watercolor and we can do it with magic marker and then add water to it. That is so cool. That was a good little lesson. All right, so I'm going to sit here and I'm going to take this little rainbow here. I am going to move my paper, well, whatever this is, right, watercolors, out of the way for a moment because we don't really need them. I'm taking my Sharpie or my pen or my pencil. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Black does look the best, though. I will say that. So I've got my Sharpie, and I like the little baby Sharpies, but that's only because you could use a real big Sharpie if you wanted to. It's not a big deal. Okay, and we're going to learn about some flowers. So we just learned about this little one right here. Let's do something like this next, okay? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do, it's a bunch of C's. You start with 3 C's. Y'all see it? Okay. And basically what we do here is we combine and we keep on doing these C's. Now you want to have them not touch each other. You want to make them bigger as you go out. You want them close together. And unlike me, you would like to literally finish it as you go. And do you see? Now this is something called a flower zentangle. It's a repeating shape. Repeating shapes in art creates rhythm. And rhythm creates movement in your piece. And you might want to make this a little bit tighter than I did, But you see, that's one flower, okay? That's one. Next, let's make, I want to make, the bigger they are, the prettier they look, honestly. I'm sitting down for this one. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to start here, and I'm going to make that circle again. And I'm making those little dots because every flower has this little middle part, right? Where they have all of the pollen that's just so fantastic right now. Right now, it's mostly grass pollen, not flower pollen, but you know, there you go. All right, so I've got my middle part. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create little bitty ones. And I'm going to just keep on going. Think of it as like fingers. Real tiny fingers. And you're going to keep on doing it as close as possible. And if it touches something else, that's okay. You're going to make sure it either goes in back of it. And I'm just continuing. They don't all have to be straight. Notice mine are all over the place. You see that? Some of them are getting far away from each other, and some of them I'm going to come back and make them a little bit more thin. Maybe this is a daisy. I don't know. One of those hairy flowers. I'm terrible with flower names. Now that one was pretty far away. So I'm going to come in here and cheat a little bit and put it, but I made sure I did not touch the other flower. Yeah, it's difficult. So this is supposed to make people calm. Does it make you calm? So there's one of my flowers. Now I'm going to come in and make another one. I know I'm going fast. That's okay. You all can watch this in the playback. I'm going to have all of these in my on my web page too. So I'm going to start with a circle here. Little bitty circle. This time I'm going to put little dots. Okay? And this time I'm going to try to make one of these big flowers in it. And I'm going to sit here and draw petals. Now I know boys aren't going to really want to do this flower thing. But it's still very challenging to sit here and concentrate and do this doodling. Not doodle dogs, just doodling. Now here's something I'm going to add to this flower because I think this flower could be really, really pretty. So I'm going to add a few details to it. So I'm going to start with this part right here. And add little C's to each one of the petals. You all see that? When I sit down, I move it closer to me, don't I? I'm being real careful for that one right there, not to get, because it's behind this flower. All right, and I could keep drawing details. So I like details, straight lines in the middle there. And that looked pretty good too. My Instagram people have pretty much given up. I see you, Shannon. You're very dedicated. I'm proud of you. All right, so I'm going to continue to fill this up with little baby flowers. Here's another one that I really like to do. I like to start with a circle, of course. And then, we all know how to make these flowers, right? These are some of the simplest little flowers ever. I love those. But guess what? You can make them bigger. So now you do every other one. We're getting bigger. It's just growing. Every other one. And you keep on going, and you see how big you can make it. If it's touching something, that's okay. We kind of want it to touch stuff because that shows depth. So this is a practice in control. This is a practice of repeating shapes over and over again. We also learned that watercolor markers can actually do, I'm going to add a little bit of that. I like those little things at the, oh, see, that added something to that. Do you see that? I like that a lot. Okay, now here's something that you could do. I'm not yet here yet. Hold on. I'm going to do one more flower to show you what I was planning on doing. Let's see. Let's do, I'm going to start here and do that right there. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to continue to make these shapes over and over again. I don't know what these are called, but they're normally purple. But you see how I'm repeating it? And I'm getting in that flower, and that's kind of where I was going. I wanted to get into that flower because I wanted to show you what I was going to do with that flower. And I'm going to continue in that negative space. You see that? I filled up that negative space. Now, the best thing about this that I like the most is that I then take my black. You know what? I'm going to, for the sake of argument's sake, I'm going to get my big Sharpie. Do we think this actually has ink in it, or is it dry? Let's see. Oh, it has it. So now I'm going to come in here. You all don't have to use a big Sharpie, but I am because I wanted to go faster. And do you see how when I do this, I paint, I'm actually coloring in everything that's a negative space. How now, you could paint this part, but there's a lot of fine detail in this, right? Like, I don't know if I have the patience to do that. So that's why I'm doing this. But when you do this, do you see how it's popping up? All of those flowers, petals. You see that? Now, Alyssa Burke is known for this, and that is fantastic. Like, I love that. So, another thing, like back onto this one right here, I would do that in these little spots. And see, that would make that pop even more too. Especially the little bitty ones, it really makes it pop. And you would just keep on adding. Now I'm going to, you can continue with the one that you're working on. I'm going to come over here and I want to do some more on this just for the sake of argument. It's 2:40. So if you have questions, you can talk to me. I think I'm going to do some leaves on this one too, I think. Oh, you could also do let's say you wanted to actually make a vase. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to draw a vase in here. Y'all see that? Hard to see in this. That's okay. I'm going to start with my vase and I'm going to make round lines all the way around. one. I'm not doing straight lines because, well, it's a vase and vases are round. Some of them are anyways. I'm doing repeating shapes all the way through. Now, you could also do just little hatch marks. That's what hatch marks are, is just little scratching. This time I'm doing the opposite way. I'm going to try to make it look like an Indian bowl. You know, Indian bowls have really pretty patterns on them. And that's what I'm working on. I lost my shape there. Okay, and you're going to continue to do that over and over and over and over again. This is a longer lesson if you want a complete thing. I would love to see what you do though, because I think this is a great skill. I used to do this in church all the time. So, great question, Carrie. What are we going to do next week? I do have plans for next week. Next week, we are starting with a parrot. We are going to draw a parrot. And then we're going to draw a pirate, because I promised a pirate and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, I am not going to work tomorrow. I'm taking a break. All right, so you're going to continue to do that. Hang on, Carrie, I'm working on it. And I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with the stem. And I'm going to start with a circle. And I'm going to start with that shape. And we're going to repeat that shape over and over again. So, we're going to do a pirate on Tuesday. A parrot. Monday is a parrot. Tuesday is a pirate. And Wednesday is a chicken, because we're getting ready for Easter. A chick. And then Thursday, a bunny. And I started my bunny. Y'all want to see one of my bunnies that I've done? So, this is in the brand new workings. So, this is my bunny for the... So, we start with that picture, and that's what we're getting. So, yep, we're working on that. And hey, Tammy, this is your bunny that you're getting. We are working on getting that ready. And here's another step with this right here is I'm going to draw lines in this over and over again for these set of petals. I'm always starting at the center and moving with whatever line was together. You see how I'm doing that? And I'm repeating it over and over and over and over. Now, the key here is that in this one, I kind of went away from what I normally do, but I like the way it looks. All right, so I'm going to continue this. Anybody else have any questions? Thank you for joining me this week. This has been so much fun. I do still plan on doing it. I probably will only do it Monday through Thursday, though. I have taught 8 classes in 4 days this week. I have never done that. That's a lot of classes. This time, I think I'm going to do fun little ones like that. This kind of reminds me of a poinsettia. But you know what I like about these the best is that the color behind it doesn't really matter. It's just a hint of color. You could plan it out. And if you planned it out, You could say, hey, I'm going to have a yellow flower over here. I'm going to have a pink flower over here. But I kind of like the fact it's random. You don't know what you get. I think that's pretty cool. This one doesn't even hit, so we're just going to do that right there. I'm going to make a big old flower right here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do that circle thing. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A little bit bigger every time. I want you to see that one. This is beginning to look like a little rose, kind of. You just keep on doing it. See how they get bigger every time? If you actually make them bigger, they look like bigger petals. Now, I could make it go behind this stem if I wanted, right? So that would go here, then there would be one here, one here. And I could even start doing it right there so it looks like it's going behind it. Now, where I messed up is down here, but there you go. All right, so I will say that if you want more, and you know, these stems need a little bit of help. Sometimes the best art is really simple. Like this is made with literally Crayola markers, water, and a Sharpie. And you can do this anytime, anywhere, and you could do it with a pen. You could do it with pencil. It's fun stuff. I will say this about the flowers. The more lines you have in them and the more little detail like this you get, and when you start doing the background, let's color in this. See, when you color in these little places, it starts to actually, but you have to fill it up in order to do that. And it just starts popping. So what if we added some leaves back here? So I'm going to add a leaf. So leaves have a stem, and then they have veins. Ooh, I liked that. I like that a lot. I think I'm going to add another one right here. Big old leaf. I just wanted to do a little fun project today. It didn't really require too much thinking. It was just one of those. This time I'm going to make all the stems go one way. One of those long, big leaves. Y'all can tell with my voice when I get really into it, can't you? Okay, so now you see what we've done here. We've learned some things. We've learned that regular Crayolas can turn into watercolors. Yay! We learned black and white works really well, right? We learned about positive. What was positive? Was the actual object. And negative space was the space in between that object. And that's what we painted black in here. We learned that the more detail you have, sometimes the more interesting. Another thing that we learned was repeating shapes creates rhythm. And rhythm creates movement. You see how this one's wanting to, you feel it? It's going whee. Yeah. Okay. I know. I got it. We also learned how to control our brush a little bit more with this. We also learned that when you did layers, it got brighter every single time you did a layer. And that's your lesson for today. I'll see you on Monday. And in Monday, we will be doing a parrot because we're going to work on pirates on Wednesday. So Monday, boy, I'm messing up. You can tell I'm tired. Monday is a parrot. Tuesday is a pirate. Wednesday is a chicken. And the fourth day, Thursday, is the bunny. Send me your work. I would love to see it. Better yet, post it. Hashtag me. Or tag me. I don't care what you do. Oh, see, I don't like that. I just did that and I didn't like that. But that sounds fantastic. You all have a great day. Stay safe this weekend. Don't get attacked by pollen or the virus. Bye, people. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thank you, Shannon. Anybody on Facebook got any questions? I will stay on if you'd like. But I will probably stop talking because I can't seem to. This really makes me get into the zone. And all of a sudden, Instagram's working. I had so many good people, and then they all had to stop because Instagram was having issues. Oh, well. Well, thank you, Holly. I'm glad. I want to see what you did. I want to see it. I want to see it. You see how when you add little details, it just makes it really cute. This one, if you kept going, would be better. Honestly, maybe if it touched. Yeah, I kind of like it touching better. All right, guys. Have a good weekend. I would love to see you. See what you did. Have fun making art this weekend. Bye, Instagram. Bye, guys.